Hi, this is going to be a video walkthrough of installing OpenCATS on Debian8 Jessie. I've got a basically brand new Debian8 installation. I've already done this once just to work everything out and get the documentation correct, but it's going to be pretty much the same as though you have a clean Debian installation. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a terminal on the left and Firefox on the right. Okay, OpenCATS documentation, you can simply Google it. Should be the top result. OpenCATS-documentation.readthedocs.io. That is exactly what we want. There are some old things floating around. This is the only thing we're working from at this moment. You see on the left, there's a few different install walkthroughs. We are going to do Debian8 Jessie. Now this should be verbatim. If you have a environment set up similar to this and you want to copy and paste, everything should work. If I catch anything in this walkthrough, I will make adjustments on the documentation, so it should be correct. If you are in a terminal only environment and you don't have a GUI, be careful entering in all the commands. There's a lot of little details that are very easy to gloss over. And once you make a small mistake, it can be tough to track it down. So sudo apt-get update. Always start with that. Okay, we're updated. Now we're going to install our MariaDB, which I tend to do these videos for less technical people. I am not that technical. I like very thorough and exact walkthroughs. I don't like walkthroughs that make assumptions on what I know and what I don't know. So I try to gear walkthroughs and documentation for people who don't know anything. Having said that, MariaDB and MySQL are the same software. So the commands will all say MySQL, but we are installing MariaDB. Don't give it any thought. If you want to use MySQL instead of MariaDB, you can do that. Everything's the same, just the name of the software. Now we're going to go ahead and do light security. Now I am entering in my MySQL or MariaDB root password, which for the walkthroughs I'm using MariaDB password. So I just entered it. I don't want to change the root password because I just set it. Remove anonymous users. Yes. Disallow root login remotely. Yes. Remove test database and access to it. Yes. Reload privilege tables now. Yes. Okay, so we just went through all of that. Now we're going to put on Apache 2. Now these first steps we're doing, we're installing a web server. Probably should have said this in the beginning, but if you already have a web server on, you don't need to do this. But if you know how to put a web server on, frankly, you really don't need this video. Alright, Apache is in. Go to the browser, new tab, enter localhost. Let's see if Apache's there. Apache 2 Debian default page. It's working. Now the default PHP on Debian 8 is 5.6. That's perfect for us. so we don't have to do anything crazy. I've already got the necessary extensions in this command, so all we have to do is copy and paste. If you are manually entering, please note everything here has PHP and the number 5 except the SOAP extension. It's PHP-SOAP, not PHP5-SOAP. So if you're manually entering and you put a 5 in there, it won't install. Alright, we're going to restart Apache. Now we are going to create an info.php file using nano. If you want to use V, go use V. But the commands are for nano. So I'm taking this information in this box, copy and pasting it over here into nano, and then I hit Control O. Oops, that's no good. Over here, Control O, enter, Control X. We're going to restart Apache again. I think I overdo the amount of times I restart Apache. And we're going to open a tab in the browser. We're going to go to localhost /info.php, and it'll show us our PHP information. So we're good. It's installed. We've got PHP 5.6. Also, if we scroll down, we can see the extensions that we installed. So we want GD curl. That's good. I think we put that on. GD LDAP, MySQL, SOAP. So we're good. Let's move on. All right, now we're going to set up the MySQL MariaDB database. Password, MariaDB password. All right. Now, the MariaDB or MySQL database is the back end for the CAT system. It's really where all the work is done. It's where all the information is stored and everything happens. OpenCATS is essentially just a pretty face. So we're going to create a user, we're going to create a database, and we're going to give the user privileges to make the changes to the database. This has nothing to do with your CATS user and password. Those are separate things. I went out of order, but it doesn't matter. Now I'm going to get an error on this, I think, because I already have this user in the system. If you do this correctly, you will not get an error. Now the password I'm using for this is the user password inside MariaDB, is going to be database password. Also make sure your apostrophes are there. If you forget an apostrophe, it's easy to overlook. That can mess things up. Alright, so I already have this user, that's why I got it. You should not get an error. Make sure we get our semicolons at the end of every MariaDB or MySQL statement every time, including the silly little ones. So this looks good. And exit, semicolon. Done. That's all set up. Now we're going to move into the web server directory. In Debian, that's /var/www/html. And we're going to download the CATS, OpenCATS install files. Alright, files should be there. ls lists everything in your directory. And we can see the file that we just downloaded. It is a compressed file similar to a zip file. And we're going to extract that with the next command. And ls again. And we have the file that we downloaded, and we have the folder that we extracted. We're going to move into that folder now. ls again. This is all our CATS, OpenCATS stuff right here. So we're in good shape. Another note on the documentation, you can name this anything you want to name it. This is a little cumbersome for the browser because this is going to, unless you really know what you're doing, this is going to be part of the web address you enter in. So I normally name it ATS. You can name it whatever you want. For the sake of this walkthrough, we're going to keep it like this. But the important thing is, as you enter information, everything about this has to be consistent 100%. So whether letters are capitalized, whether they're not capitalized, dashes, dots, everything has to be exact going through the installation process. So if you name it something else, make sure you're consistent with the installation. Okay, so now I don't know whether we have to install curl. I'm going to try it. If it's already installed, I'll remove it from the documentation. Curl is already installed. Alright, and that is now removed from the documentation. So when you see this, this line should not be there. We're going to install Composer. That's going to handle some of the OpenCATS dependencies. Composer is not included in the Debian repositories, so we're going to have to install it. One other thing to note, this right here goes off the page. If you've got it split screen like I do, you're going to miss some of this. You can't select it all, so you have to maximize your browser right here. Of course, it was all selected. Just make sure you get that entire line because it goes off the page right there. Okay. I think I'm going to need to do that again as sudo. Let's see what happens. Nope, that looks good. Alright. Oh, well, this is a mistake. Alright, we have to switch back to the OpenCATS directory. Okay, so once again, before I move forward, the documentation here is not correct. I have made that change. So when you pull up the documentation, there'll be an additional line in here getting you back to the OpenCATS directory. So now we can go ahead and run this command and let Composer install some dependencies. Hopefully there will be no errors. Alright, so this is fine. Couldn't find this extension, but it looks like it got it. It says do not run Composer as root. I don't know what that's all about because I always have to run it as root. So this is good. There's no errors. If you get an error, most of the time it's a red error and you'll have to figure out what you're missing. Sometimes it's a missing extension, PHP extension from when we installed them earlier. So we are good. Now we have to back up one directory, so cd space ... There's our OpenCATS. So we're going to set some directory permissions now. We'll run through these 4 commands. And then we're going to install our resume indexing tools. These are all in the Debian repositories, so simple apt-get install. We'll put them right in there. Done. Now, we're done in the terminal. We're going to the browser. So, new tab, localhost, /OpenCATS. Again, it has to be exactly the way the folder name is formatted. And there we go. So this is the first installation screen. It refers you to a second installation screen. Click that. Green is good. If you have yellow, generally that means there's a problem with the PHP extension. Yellow means you can go forward and do the installation, but you may lose some functionality depending on what it is. Red often will be permission problems with the directories. Maybe other things, I'm not sure. But red means you have to fix something. You cannot do the install. Green is good. Hit next. This is our MySQL database information. So we had OpenCATS, database password. And this is almost always going to be localhost. There are some instances where you'll have to put an IP address, but generally localhost. Test connectivity. I always get red first 2 or 3 times. Takes a couple seconds. Click again, green. If you click a few times, 2, 3, 4, more than 5 seconds, and it's still red, this information could be wrong. The MySQL database could have been set up incorrectly. You could have missed an apostrophe or who knows. So if I get the username wrong and do this, again, it takes a couple clicks. I'll get some red. So it's connecting with the database, but it can't find, it's connecting with MySQL, but it can't find the specific database because it's looking for OpenCAT, and we named it OpenCATS. So we're going to put the S on there. Okay, green, hit next. We're going to do a new installation. I'll cover backing up and restoring later. So new installation, next. Alright, this is the resume indexing tools. We did install those as long as you didn't skip that step. These paths are wrong. We have to point cats to the executable. These are incorrect. Needs to be /usr /bin/ and then the program name. So we copy and paste. Okay, and we'll test. We'll get red again. Takes a couple seconds, couple clicks. Green. Green is good. Let's move forward. I'm not going to mess with email right now, so I'm going to say none. You can set up email. It does work. I'm going to deal with that later. Make sure you set your time zone correctly. That's important. It will throw you off if you log in one day and you see that there were entries made at 2 in the morning. It's weird. I don't know that it really affects anything, but I don't like it. Make sure you set these right. Date format, US, UK. I'm in the US. I am not installing the US zip code. If you want to, click install. If you don't, do not install. That's it. I'm going to let it finish and log into our OpenCATS system. Finishing installation. Default, username, password, admin, admin. Easy enough. However, it's always good to change the password. We're going to click settings. We're going to click my profile and change password. Current is admin. New password, we'll call it new password. And it will kick us right out. Oops. Helps if you do it right. Alright, so now admin, new password. And we've got a brand new OpenCATS system. So it's ready for your recruiting goodness. Thanks a lot. Let me know what you think or if you have any questions.